Hi, I'm Tina Shortland, Debt Advisory Manager for Debt Advice TV. Welcome to this video where we're going to be talking about the annual review process in an IVA. If you're someone who's been exploring the option of an IVA, or partway through your own, or just curious about the process, then you will have heard about the annual review and want to know more about them. I'm joined today by Sue Clay, Licensed Insolvency Practitioner with Debt Advice TV, who has nearly 30 years' experience in both personal and corporate insolvency. During that time, Sue's been directly involved in over 1,500 annual reviews, so has a huge breadth and depth of knowledge about the annual review process. The annual review is a fundamental part of the ongoing supervision of an IVA once it's in place. It assesses a client's circumstances each year to make sure the payment is set at an affordable level and allows for any changes to be made. During this clip, I'm going to be asking Sue some of the key questions that clients ask about annual reviews, and she'll be able to talk us through them, what they are, what happens, what preparation's needed, and what happens afterwards. Hi Sue.
Hi Tina.
So can you talk us through what an annual review actually is and what happens?
The annual review process is a key part and a very important part of the supervision of an IVA. It is a requirement of the IVA proposal, and it's got two main objectives. From the client's perspective, who is often referred to as the debtor, the aim is to make sure that the level of the payments into the IVA remain affordable. From the creditor's perspective, the creditor is interested or wants to know that the client is actually making the right level of payment, and if increased payments can be made, then that's what the creditor expects.
So how does the annual review actually take place and who's involved?
In terms of who's involved, there's no creditor involvement whatsoever, but it's somebody from the supervisor's office, from the office of the insolvency practitioner, and then it's the client who's involved.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, in my practice, this is done over the telephone, by email communication, and it really just involves obtaining up-to-date information, income and expenditure from the client, again, to assess affordability.
So are annual reviews the same for everybody, or can they differ?
The process will remain the same for everybody in terms of providing the up-to-date income and expenditure, but they will differ depending on the individual circumstances of the case. For example, whether somebody's employed, whether somebody's self-employed, or whether somebody's a company director.
Right. And there'll be people watching this clip that will be preparing for their first annual review. Can you talk us through what information's required and what preparation's needed?
Yeah, as I said, for every case there's going to be an income and expenditure. Mm-hmm. So ideally, if the client is keeping an eye on their budget throughout the year, at the time of the review, then they will know what their current income and expenditure looks like, the current budget. In terms of the information, if you're an employed person, then of course it's handy to have available all of your wage slips, because it is a requirement to provide those at the time of the review. You'll also be obliged to provide evidence of any changes to your income and expenditure, council tax bills, utility bills, and it's always handy to have perhaps the last 3 months' bank statements, because that will actually evidence everything that's going on in your budget. If you're a self-employed person, a bit more preparation, because you probably need to, or you will need to provide your tax return and some trading figures. So if you need to get that from an accountant, then, to be prepared is best. Mm-hmm. And if you're a company director, then you will need to provide information regarding the company. Again, to support your income, you'll need to provide things like company accounts and tax returns to evidence dividend income. You'll also be asked to provide confirmation of any windfalls. Generally, you'd expect somebody to know if they've had any of those throughout the year. And really, I think it's a matter of just being mindful. You've been through the process for the IVA, the type of paperwork that you need to provide, and just keep it all to one side throughout the year, so when you're asked for it, you can readily then just make it available to your supervisor.
Mm-hmm. And how long does the annual review process take from start to finish?
The annual review process in my own firm commences about a month before the anniversary, and that's basically then advising the client that at that anniversary point, the information that we're going to need. In terms of how long it then takes, it will differ in each individual case. But in terms of the deadline, if I can call it that, we have to conclude the annual review within 2 months of the anniversary. So it'll take as long as it takes, really, within that window. And no doubt there'll be dialogue between the supervisor's office and the debtor in that interim period. But that's the sort of general timescale.
Okay. And what are the possible outcomes that a client can expect?
There's a number of outcomes. There can be no change. If the client's circumstances hasn't changed, then the payment levels continue into the second year and you move forward then to the second review. There can be an increase in contributions in accordance with the terms of the IVA. So generally, if the client's circumstances have improved, then the creditors expect the payments to go up. And indeed, one of the most important things from the client's perspective is if there's been a reduction in the level of disposable income. And if that has happened, then there's a number of things that can happen to try and accommodate that. So that's really the sort of, the three main outcomes that a client can expect from an annual review.
Okay. And so after all of that, what happens next afterwards and for everybody involved?
Well, hopefully, from a client's perspective, they are now back on track in terms of they're making affordable payments again for the second, the third, the fourth year of the IVAs. From a creditor perspective, the creditor gets a report, gets details of the outcome, so they know that the supervision is all going well and hopefully working towards a satisfactory outcome in terms of the IVA in general.
Thank you, Sue. That's been really helpful. After watching this video, you'll be clearer on the annual review process and it will have answered any questions you've got or alleviated any concerns you have. But if you do have any further questions or want to speak to one of the team for help, then call us on 0808 168 9038. Or if you'd prefer one of us to call you, then visit www.call-me.debtadvicetv.com and one of us will be in touch. From me and Sue at Debt Advice TV, see you again soon.